Frieza, the Emperor of Evil. One of the most recognizable names in all of Dragon Ball, has been around since 1989, but has only become a main character in the plot of Dragon Ball during the Tournament of Power arc, which saw his return not a second or even a third, but a fourth time in canon. Debuting more transformations and even greater power than before, Frieza has truly become a threat to the main characters, even in their strongest transformations. But despite this, he's just that character that you love to hate or hate to love, our adorable little space real estate agent. So in honor of him just being the most Chad of all villains, we're going to explain him and his race. I hope you're ready. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've also noticed that a lot of folks who are watching our videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. We know that YouTube does a good job of recommending you what you want to watch, but if you want to make sure that you never miss a video, or if you just want to support the Amagi, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Frieza is the self-proclaimed Emperor of the Universe. Well, I say self-proclaimed, but it's not actually a bluff. During the time before Namek, it was known that the Frieza Force had control of about 70% of the entirety of Universe 7, controlling a whopping 448 planets overall. Considering at the time there were only supposedly 30 planets with life on them during the time of Frieza's reign, that percentage may be a little overblown, as it's not hard to rule a planet that nobody is on. Nonetheless, Frieza's forces are feared across the universe for their power, but mostly for Frieza's strength. Frieza was born to his father as a member of a race that has been called the Frieza race, or even as Frost Demons in the Xenoverse series of games, as well as the lineage of evil in the Dragon Ball Legends mobile game. Despite there being a whole race of these aliens, the only notable ones are those within King Cold's lineage, as King Cold was considered a mutant, with Frieza himself also being considered one with far higher potential. Frieza never once had to train, and that wasn't because he was merely lazy, as he was actually quite determined when it came down to it. He simply never had to, as he was naturally stronger than everyone else. His father once warned him to never cross two particular beings in the universe. The first was Beerus the Destroyer, and the second was Majin Buu. That being said, King Cold greatly underestimated Frieza's potential. This likely spawned from the one battle he and his father had, to which Frieza mentioned was one of the few battles he ever had to dust himself off from. This is not to say that Frieza obeyed his father. It was actually known that Frieza met Beerus once, and the two seemed to get along well. Beerus, however, disliked Frieza's prideful personality and had planned to destroy him, but instead used him as an agent of destruction. This is actually tied to the Saiyan race, which was annexed to the Frieza Empire in age 731, during the time it was called the Cold Force. A year later, however, King Cold announced his retirement and informed the Saiyans that Frieza, his son, who he considered even crueler than himself, would be stepping up to take his place. It was at around this time that Beerus had visited planet Vegeta and asked for the best pillow in the universe, to which the Saiyans killed many people just to find. Beerus admitted that this didn't bother him much, but what did bother him was that King Vegeta kept the best pillow for himself and offered Beerus the second best pillow. Beerus commanded Frieza to destroy the Saiyans for him, to which Frieza, already planning their downfall, agreed. Frieza himself had heard rumors of the legendary Super Saiyan, which depending upon sources may have come from his ancestor, Chilled. However, keeping with canonical sources, Frieza had somehow heard the legend, and further still had heard the rumors of the Super Saiyan God. Even after hearing that these legends were false, Frieza still had the Saiyans killed, despite the fact that they made up quite the large percentage of his fighting force. Why? Because he still knew their potential. Even if the legendary Super Saiyan and the Super Saiyan God were fake, he still knew that they had exceptional fighting abilities and the capabilities to adapt as the situation called for. Meaning that, while they weren't a threat now, they could be one later, so he decided to destroy them. And yeah, I guess cause Beerus said to as well. I kinda feel like Frieza himself didn't even know about his own potential, but that's beside the point. Frieza, at some point in time, was even confronted by the Galactic Patrol, to which Frieza effortlessly stomped them all, to the point where the Galactic Patrol now have rules against engaging with Frieza. Frieza later goes on to continue conquering the universe, even allowing 3 Saiyans who survived the destruction of their planet to live, thinking they could still be useful. They were Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta. The first 2 were duds, but Vegeta now, well, Vegeta was powerful for a Saiyan, coming in at around 18,000 power level, which was almost twice that of his father, King Vegeta III. And when Great Ape was achieved by Vegeta, his power level ascended to a whopping 180,000, which was impressive and more than enough to eradicate a planet. Frieza, however, felt unintimidated by Vegeta because at Frieza's absolute weakest, his power level was 530,000, and that was before transforming. The issue with this was that Goku existed. Yep, the one that got away. Cooler himself chastised Frieza for his pride, saying that it would bite him in the ass if he didn't kill Goku, and then himself proceeded to not kill Goku because he didn't want to clean up his brother's mistakes. Guess what? It bit Cooler in the ass too. Now Goku is the epitome of Saiyan potential, excluding Broly and Gohan of course, who are 2 different epitomes of potential. After his fight with Vegeta left him in traction, he later trained himself until he nearly dropped dead and ended up with a pretty dang high power level on his own, to the point that he could have whooped Vegeta's Great Ape butt with ease. But Captain Ginyu had to try and take that body for himself and ended up causing Goku to Zenkai yet again to the point where he went up to a power level of 3 million. Like, I can't even make that up. Frieza really spared the wrong Saiyan. Even still, Frieza ended up stomping Goku until he made the mistake of killing Krillin, which caused Goku to snap and achieve the Super Saiyan transformation, which Frieza thought was fake. This transformation just barely surpassed Frieza's own power level, and because Goku had actually trained and knew how to use his power, Goku didn't accidentally cut himself in half with a glowing pizza attack, unlike someone we know. Frieza, of course, begs for mercy, and Goku, of course, grants it, and Frieza, of course, turns around and uses it to try and kill Goku, as if he somehow thought that using the small fraction of power Goku gave him, like what, 10% at most, would somehow overtake 90% just because Goku wasn't looking. Nope. Goku turns around and mollywops Frieza, but I gotta hand it to him. Even taking that shot and an exploding planet, Frieza does not die. I mean, he's screwed up for life, but he survives until his father finds him and rebuilds him. They had the technology. They made him better, stronger, and faster. Apparently not strong and fast enough though, because Trunks comes in and dices him like a fresh onion. Frieza spends the remainder of the Z series in hell, where he's suspended above a field of flowers as teddy bears, fairies, and all other manner of cute creatures and toys greet him daily with lovely songs. Remember, this was Frieza's personal hell. To Frieza, physical torture is like heaven, so heaven to him must be like hell, and that's exactly what he got. All that time, he continues to seethe and mauled over Goku. The Frieza Force were perfectly content to leave Frieza dead, but when the Empire started falling apart because the fear of Frieza's power was gone, they decided to revive him, something which Frieza comments on. Frieza himself decides not to resurrect King Cold for the same reasons the Frieza Force neglected Frieza. Frieza is dead set on a rematch with Goku and Trunks, but upon hearing that Goku defeated Majin Buu and even survived against Beerus the Destroyer, he decides he needs to go on a training arc. He somehow thinks that only 3 months will be enough, and strangely, it almost is. He returns to Earth and waits for Goku. This doesn't exactly work in Frieza's favor, however, as Goku still has Whis, and the moment Frieza cheats by destroying Earth without Beerus' approval, Whis rewinds time and gives Goku another chance. Goku then finishes Frieza off himself, returning him to hell back to that cocoon. Of course, Frieza doesn't exactly twiddle his thumbs. He's certain that he will eventually return to life, and so he mentally trains to perfect his new transformation, which serves him well because just as he hoped, he does return to life. This time as Goku's ally, which Frieza only agrees to because failure to do so will at least leave him dead, and at most have him erased. Together they enter the Tournament of Power, and together they use their powers to defeat their enemies, with Frieza being a little more brutal than Goku, attempting to find loopholes around the rule of not killing. In the end, Goku and Frieza together take on Jiren, who had insulted Frieza's pride. Frieza and Goku sacrifice themselves to knock Jiren off the side and win the tournament, with Android 17 wishing that all who perished due to the tournament to be restored. In accordance to Goku's promise, Frieza is resurrected and returns to his old ways of conquering and rebuilding his empire. During the course of this, however, he discovers two more Saiyans who survived Planet Vegeta's destruction like Goku and Vegeta had, and decides to recruit them because this is somehow a good idea after the last two failures. Frieza, though, is self-conscious about his height and prefers to be taller due to his men calling him a pipsqueak. Kikono actually suggests just switching to one of his larger transformations, but Frieza tells him he wants to remain at full power, and so he decides to go to Earth and use the Dragon Balls to wish for an extra 2 centimeters in height, as anything more than that will be noticeable, and he wants to make it look like he's still growing, which hints that despite Frieza's age, he must still be considered young by his race's standards. During this time, he introduces Broly and Paragus to Goku and Vegeta, with Broly launching into a battle with the heroes. Frieza is impressed with Broly's potential, though he believes he could have done better with proper training. As Broly plateaus, however, Frieza decides it's worth trying to turn him Super Saiyan and kills Paragus. Yeah, that's not gonna bite you in the butt later. Broly manages to overpower Goku and Vegeta, both of whom happen to be using their divine transformations. Issue is that Broly is in a blind rage and easily loses focus on Goku and Vegeta and proceeds to whoop on Frieza, who, to his credit, actually manages to fight Broly to a standstill, which even Goku and Vegeta couldn't do. However, when Gogeta shows up, the battle is all but decided. Broly's wished away, and Frieza laments his failure, attempting to kill Chilai and Limo, to which Gogeta easily stops. Frieza decides to let them go, vowing that he will return, and goes back to his regularly scheduled conquest. During the course of this, however, Frieza finds a room of spirit and time, not too unlike the one on Earth, and spends 10 years inside of this time-dilated chamber where he increases in strength. He returns after only 10 days, having passed in real time, and proceeds to hunt down the Heaters who were trying to usurp his throne. He's pleasantly surprised when he finds Goku and Vegeta there and proceeds to show off his new power to them, which easily overpowers even Goku and Vegeta's Ultra forms as if they were nothing. He decides to spare them this time because he's just an idiot like that who refuses to listen to the past and continues on his way. Frieza's power that he gains so quickly is a product of his status as a mutant, but what does that mean? Well, let's look into it. Frieza's race, also known as Frost Demons, are apparently a race with at least average to above average potential, with Frieza and King Cold, and by extension Cooler, being the rare exceptions. Much like the Saiyans, they appear to be a highly adaptable race, capable of creating new transformations to suit their needs at any given moment. Frieza himself was born with an abnormally high power level, being equivalent to the legendary Super Saiyan of Saiyan culture. While it's unknown what Frieza's power level was at birth, it can be assumed to have been something akin to 120 million, as that was what his max power level was in adulthood after having never once trained. Frieza's race, much like the Namekians, all appeared to be masculine, with just slightly effeminate features. The reason for this is more than likely that they are a race capable of asexual reproduction. This has been contested due to Frieza in the English dub mentioning himself as having parents, plural, as in having more than one. However, in the original Japanese, this line is never spoken, and it's never hinted at that Frieza ever had a mother. How a frost demon reproduces, as well as the earlier stages of their life, remains unclear. But they are shown to have a natural life cycle, including adolescence as displayed by Kuriza, the son of Frieza. It's also known that frost demons possess the ability to grow their own armor in the form of biosuits, which expand and shift, meeting the demands of the wearer as they transform. These biosuits, while still considered a form of flesh, are how a frost demon covers themselves, and as such, Frieza is technically never seen as naked because he's constantly wearing the clothing that his race forms with their own body. These suits, and frost demons as a whole, are shown capable of minor forms of regeneration, as their body seems to regenerate as they transform, as shown by Frieza when his tail is replaced when he enters a new transformation. There do appear to be limits to this, as after Frieza's defeat on Namek, he was unable to properly heal or survive without biomechanical implants, and was never again shown without them until his resurrection in the Resurrection F arc. A frost demon, however, is shown to be extraordinarily hardy, as they can apparently survive even the most grievous wounds, such as being severed in two and even being reduced to pieces. This is shown after Cooler returns in his sequel movie, possessing a biomechanical body of his own formed from the Big Yeti star, with the only biological part of him that remains being his eye. Frieza also shows this level of hardiness, as after his resurrection by Shenron, he could not be resurrected with a regenerated body, and instead survived only as a pile of severed body parts until he was placed into a healing pod that helped him regenerate his body. However, King Cold was killed by a simple ki blast to the chest, and Chilled was killed by being beaten to death by Bardock. Which of these cases are outliers remains unknown, as at least one case of each is considered non-canon. It could be explained that Frieza during Resurrection F was also considered an outlier, as his life likely could have been sustained by Shenron. However, this is unconfirmed. The home planet of the Frost Demons remains unknown, as they have only been witnessed as nomads within the Dragon Ball world. They do have their own language, not too unlike the Namekians, though this language is only seen in the Funimation dub of the original Dragon Ball Z anime. The only phrase we've seen is Allo vi vival, which translates to "let's get down to business." Given that this is a saying to the Frost Demon race, it hints that their culture is based around business, such as how Frieza views his own empire. This, however, remains unconfirmed, as it's based on a false translation and is never once said in the original Japanese. Their civilization in Universe 7 remains largely unknown, though some games dictate that Frieza and his father are the supreme leaders of this race, and that their race's leadership is dictated by might, and that something happened which resulted in very few Frost Demons remaining, likely explaining why only a few are shown in canon originating from Universe 7. Given Frieza's penchant for destroying planets, it's likely that he feared his own race and their potential, and destroyed them himself as he did the Saiyans. On a side note, a character named Giora appears in another one of Akira Toriyama's works named Cashman. In this story, Giora is a space policeman from the planet Biretajan. When crashing his ship on Earth, he accidentally kills a cowardly police officer named Chapit. To go unnoticed on Earth, he assumes his identity and works as a police officer by day, and assumes his true form at night to fight evil as a superhero named Cashman, who hopes to earn 17 million yen to buy enough gold to power his ship so he may escape the planet and return home. The canonicity of this work in comparison to Dragon Ball is unknown, though the series is referenced when one of the police officers from the manga makes a canon appearance in Dragon Ball Super's 27th chapter. If canon, and this character is indeed a member of Frieza's race, it would offer insight into their culture, insinuating that Frieza's race originates possibly from planet Biretajan, and they possess a never-before-seen ability to merge with other beings to take on their physical appearance. It would also be known that their race's ships would run on gold as opposed to petroleum-based fuels. This would be ironic as well, as one of the Frost Demon race's transformations is based on gold, signifying the race's close relationship to the precious metal. But disregarding all of this, let's talk about the point that you likely came to see. Transformations. Frost Demons, like Saiyans, are a very adaptable race, with their body capable of taking on different shapes and growing different forms of tissue for use as clothes and armor. Unlike Saiyans though, Frost Demons possess the ability to assume new transformations at will, creating them as they feel the need. An unusual case for most races, Frieza's transformations are actually designed to make him weaker, as he's too strong and was stated that he could die by merely assuming his full power. His transformations are assumed in reverse order, with his weakest transformation being called his first form. This transformation is one of the smallest, possesses what appears to be a hard helmet with black pointed horns. He possesses a purple bio-gem taking up the center of his crown and hardened armor biosuit around his chest. His arms and legs possess pink flesh that extends down as a ring pattern and what appears to be a pair of black briefs. Given that this black undergarment-esque piece of clothing doesn't seem to match his biosuit, it could be assumed that this is what he wears to cover himself. This likely also means that the pink areas on his limbs and on the lower part of his stomach is what his race's true flesh looks like under the biosuit. This first form doesn't possess any true abilities that make it all that special, and is simply used as Frieza's first and lowest suppression form. All transformations Frieza makes appear to be strenuous and painful, which only makes sense as, unlike most Saiyan transformations, these transformations tend to dramatically change his physical form. Second form. Frieza's second form is by far the most intimidating of them all, standing at twice the height of his first. In its first appearance, this form was said to increase his power level to 1 million. It resembles his first form mostly in design. in that it also possesses pink ringed limbs and chest armor. Unlike the first form, the horns have grown out and now possess a second angle that points upward as opposed to simply standing straight out. Krillin likely remembers these horns as he got owned by him. In this form, Frieza resembles his father quite a bit, insinuating that King Cold may prefer to remain in his second form. Why this would be is unknown, as we've never seen King Cold in any other transformation, though this is not to say that he doesn't have them. It could be possible that this is King Cold's natural state, or perhaps he is simply weaker than Frieza and only needs to suppress himself this far. It was stated that Frieza, from the moment he was born, had a higher power level than even his father. The third theory lines up with the advice given by Kikono in Dragon Ball Super Broly, in that King Cold was afraid of being called a pipsqueak, and chose to maintain his second form since it was the largest, most intimidating, and was likely far stronger than anything commonly found in the universe. Third form. This form is the one that possesses the biggest design change of all, possessing an elongated skull and a hunchbacked posture. The design was originally based off of the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise. I mean, I don't know that for certain, it seems like I heard a rumor and I can't confirm it, but I mean, come on. Look at these two side by side and tell me that I'm wrong. Anyway, this form is our local Speedy Boy, and is designed to cut out a lot of that extra muscle for an increase in speed. That likely makes Burter's claims of being the fastest in the universe very, very invalid. With this form, Frieza absolutely violated Piccolo, although he didn't have to move much while doing it, as his power level was so far beyond Piccolo's that he could literally just laser poke him to death. Should've listened to King Kai, Piccolo. This transformation is only ever seen again in canon when Frost makes use of it during the Tournament of Destroyers. In fact, he makes use of all of Frieza's transformations at least once, though he has yet to go beyond full power. True form. Also known as the fourth form, this was Frieza's true final transformation during the Namek saga, though he did possess one final power-up after it. Sleek and completely covered in a biosuit, Frieza wears no armor whatsoever. This form was meant to follow Toriyama's own beliefs that size could be misleading, something that is eventually revisited with Majin Buu's pure final form, as well as Beerus and the Super Saiyan God transformation. This transformation is Frieza's ultimate form, being the one he was likely born in. Unassuming, very few people have ever seen it, and even fewer have lived to tell the tale. Frieza in this form had the power to surpass Goku, who at the time had a power level of 3 million. This was his unrestricted form, where he could increase or decrease his power level accordingly, being one of few races in the universe that could consciously manipulate their power level at will. Frieza generally did not like to use this form, as his control over his power was not the best, and he inadvertently would use it too much and accidentally strain himself. He preferred to never really use more than 1% of his full power in this form, which, despite being only 1%, was still strong enough to surpass everything he had shown up till that point. All the same, Frieza rarely ever went above 85% of his true form, as doing so would cause his muscles to bulge. Going beyond this form was considered dangerous to Frieza, as he feared that his body would be unable to handle the strain of his power and might self-destruct. He merely assumed his 100% form when fighting against Super Saiyan Goku, and in the Z anime, after believing that he had defeated him, immediately returned to a lower percentage. The speed at which he increases his power level is relatively slow compared to other forms, with him only going up a few percent every few seconds, likely to allow his body to acclimate to the power slowly so he doesn't die. This, however, required him to bank on Goku's sense of fair play, as Goku was required to wait for him to reach his full power. Later on in the series, while demonstrating his 100% form to Frost, Frieza is able to attain it at a rather quick pace, either because of ki control or because his body is simply stronger from training and now capable of utilizing this form. Strangely, Frost seemed unaware of his 100% form, insinuating that this wasn't a natural power level and that it is a form of strain, or a form of restriction releasing, not too far removed from the concept of the human brain limiting human strength for fear that the human body might hurt itself if using full power. This would technically make Frieza's 100% form a technique as opposed to a natural state of being, in that Frieza must do something unnatural to access his true strength. After his fourth, also known as his true form, Frieza and his race are no longer restricting themselves. All forms beyond are used to actually augment their true form and increase their power level even higher. Among the many transformations displayed by his race is the fifth form, also known as the Super Evolution. This transformation was achieved by only one frost demon, that being Cooler, who once more took a larger form with a slightly longer crown, and nowhere near the level of the third form with 4 horns of the same color and texture as the helmet protruding from the 4 corners of the head. The musculature expands, and Cooler even gets a badass Optimus Prime mask that covers his mouth and nose, protecting his face from further attack. In this form, Cooler casually fodderizes Goku, even in his Kaioken x20 state, only failing when Goku utilizes his Super Saiyan transformation, which by this time had powered up quite a bit due to his training on the planet Yardrat. While never seen, in various video games, Frieza hints that he too can assume this form, and that he learned it from Cooler, but these statements usually only occur in what-if scenarios, insinuating that Frieza doesn't naturally know how to assume this form. Despite Frieza knowing how to use this form, he's never seen officially using it. The only time Frieza is ever truly shown utilizing the fifth form is when he fused with his brother during the events of Dragon Ball Fusions, but at that point, is he even really Frieza anymore? This transformation, much like Super Saiyan 4, remains official but outside of the main canon, along with its originators, due to having never been mentioned or seen in canonical stories. But hey, here's to hoping both fifth form and Super Saiyan 4 get canonized. Golden form. Also known as Ultimate Evolution, this is the transformation that Frieza takes during the Resurrection F storyline. In this movie, after having been resurrected, Frieza hears of Goku's feats and begins to believe that he might need to do a little training if he wants to win. So he goes off for a few months to train, during which he actually manages to achieve this new transformation. Immediately after attaining it though, he rushes to Earth to show it off, having not tested it enough to realize that it possesses increased strain to his body, which leaves him unable to maintain the transformation. Frieza states that this form is customizable, saying that he is the one who chooses the colors. He said he feared it might be a little gauche, but that would also reference his place at the top of the food chain. This form's colors were also chosen to mimic those of the original Super Saiyan transformation that defeated him all those years ago. Considering that Frieza is equal to Goku while he uses his Saiyan Beyond God ability, which is stated to be as strong as Super Saiyan God, and then Frieza is equal again to Goku when Goku turns Super Saiyan Blue, Frieza's golden form is technically the same strength as Goku's Super Saiyan transformation, further linking these two forms concept-wise. However, despite golden form being considered a new transformation, it can be used with other transformations as well. This is shown when Cooler learns to achieve this transformation and stacks it on top of his fifth form to further increase his strength. It also seems to cover more than just the biosuit, as Metal Cooler also makes use of the transformation, in which his entire body, which mostly consists of cybernetics, save for one eye, turns golden in a form known as Golden Metal Cooler. This, however, remains non-canon as it only appeared in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Though this does make me wonder if Golden Frieza is capable of taking on a 100% form while using this, and if so, I wonder why he didn't try to get that one over on Goku. Besides this, Frieza possesses another version of Golden Form, which is more similar to a new grade than a new transformation. It's called True Golden Frieza. Basically, what happened was, during his time in Hell, Frieza focused on training his ki, which allowed him to perfect this form and basically stay in it indefinitely without any ki drain, a technique not too unlike Grade 4 of Super Saiyan, or perfected Super Saiyan Blue. Despite this, however, Frieza possesses yet another form. Black Frieza. This transformation could have really benefited from naming it after another precious material such as ebony or onyx. This would have kept with the theme of Frieza naming his forms after precious materials, but alas, they decided to name it something so simple, and now the internet is full of bad racial jokes. But alas, despite all of this, the form is still one of Frieza's most mysterious transformations, having been witnessed only once with a single flashback by Vegeta. Frieza, taking to heart that laziness sucks and training is good, decides to blow 10 years of his life doing literally nothing but training, and ends up walking out with a transformation that rivals that of the Ultra transformations. We don't really know too much about it other than it's a stronger version of his golden form, and likely also had its color chosen by Frieza himself, who decided that black and white was the best way to go. This form actually more closely resembles the standard fourth form far more than his golden form does color palette wise. It possesses the same white torso and white face as the fourth true form, but everything else has been sprayed down in good ol' hex color sextuple 0. This form basically turned gas, supposedly the strongest in the universe, to a pile of dust and bones, though to be fair, he was heading that way regardless. The true power of this transformation has not been shown, other than Frieza terrifying Vegeta enough to increase his training during the superhero arc of the manga. This form, while only first seen in the Granola arc of Dragon Ball Super, was actually hinted to as far back as 2019, when Vegeta mentioned in the Broly movie that Frieza was likely to come back one day with a new transformation beyond Gold, which Goku questioned if it could really happen, and Vegeta angrily confirming that it was more than just a possibility. While we don't know the upper limits of this form, it has left fans on the edge of their seat for well over a year, proving that Dragon Ball's formula of just add another transformation is still working, and further shows why Frieza is still a top dog in the Dragon Ball pantheon of evil. Did you enjoy the video? I want to know what your favorite Frieza moment is. What do you like about him? What do you dislike? What's your favorite form? Do you think he should ever become a hero, or at least an anti-hero? Or do you think that they should officially kill him off again and leave him dead this time? I'm eager to hear from you. Until next time, peace out.
Did you enjoy our video? Well, then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.